Hello, I am here today to present you with the ideas I have for a emergency request for donations presentation for the American National Red Cross organization. Now, this is what I have prepared. Since we must raise $75,000 before the end of December 31st, by December 31st at midnight, to close our a year end gap and fully fund our humanitarian and community programs. I have these things to present for donation request and providing the community with the information about our organization. Now, there is a generous donor that's preparing to match all gifts for the next 72 hours. So you see the urgency we have here. And to present to the public, uh, to advise them that the gifts today brings life-saving help to families and communities who need us now more than ever. So the generosity provides emergency care, community services, and hope when people have nowhere else to turn. So we're pushing toward our goal of the 75,000 by the year end. So this is what I have prepared. Imagine that a ministry is launching a message encouraging this congregation to participate in the community outreach program that serves these meals to unhoused people or people that have had dilemmas in their life. The idea is to encourage spiritual credibility along with spiritual guidance. This is where our ethos and emotional persuasion theory will come into place, our rhetoric theory. So we would start with something like, beloved friends, in moments like this, when needs are great and resources feel stretched, we can remember a simple truth. God calls us to be his hands in a hurting world. And my ministry is a daily reminder that we have an internal struggle. So this is why my job in the ministry gives me a connection to my own spiritual journey. I've learned that ministry leaders can use similar strategies and share relatable struggles, and that will help them and their followers to overcome. And in their feelings of donating, it will help them with keeping their faith to know what they're doing is a good and righteous thing. Not saying that every person will feel this way, but I feel it will go a long way, especially with believers. Saying things like every act of generosity, whether big or small, becomes a seed of hope that God multiplies. Your gift today is not just a donation, it's a declaration of faith. And it says, Lord, I trust you to use what I have to bless someone else, which is what our goal in life is, to bless others. So you would want to explain that right now we have the opportunity to meet real needs, to restore dignity, and remind families that they are not forgotten. A lot of this is what Christians and Christianity is about. Your giving can bring warmth, safety, food, care, and compassion to neighbors who are praying for a breakthrough. In one sentence, you can say your generosity is an answer to someone's prayer. We can quote that the scripture tells us, do not forget to do good and to share with others, for with such sacrifices God is pleased. And that is a quote from the Bible in Hebrews chapter 13, verse 6. A believer would know and understand something along those lines. So stating things like, when you give, you step into God's heart for mercy. You participate in His work of renewal. You shine His love into places that feel dark. So you're giving hope to someone that may feel like they've lost all their hope. Your generosity and your giving could be an answer to their prayers, we said. So will you consider making a gift today, not out of pressure, never out of guilt, but out of joy, obedience, gratitude, and trust that God multiplies every seed you sow. If God has blessed you, let your blessing become someone else's miracle. And if you're giving sacrificially, know that He sees your heart. And if all you can offer today feels small, remember God specializes in multiplying the small. He can make that go such a long way for someone else that's really in need. So today we can make an impact that honors God and lifts families who are counting on us. Give today and let compassion be your worship, which is another nice thing to say, and a believer can understand and grasp that. So, as the head of this ministry, I will always begin by remembering the long-standing commitment to community service that has made this country great. And this is what allows others to understand that they are being served by someone who understands being a vulnerable neighbor. And there's a scripture in Matthew that relates to this too. It says, I was hungry and you gave me something to eat. These are all things that are believers and that a congregation of believers can accept and understand when you're asking for donations. So, as a minister, being open to discussing matters of importance or offering grace centered support for outreach allows others to see and understand more about sharing and their experiences. So, there's no problem with the community, with us providing or sharing short, relatable stories, such as the testimonies from the volunteers who have once felt disconnected in their faith but found renewal through serving others, or from someone who received the meal and expressed how it restored their sense of dignity. These are things that can relate to this emotional narrative and how it deepens empathy and helps the congregation feel the importance of the work for the American National Red Cross. Now, if there's an ethical dilemma involved, remember that in it there's the balancing between urgency with accuracy. So, disaster related campaigns often use emotional charge appeals that highlight human suffering. So, while these stories can prompt rapid action, they risk oversimplifying complex crises. So, we're going to be careful along those lines. So, further ethical concerns involve the campaign's dependency on digital communication channels. So we want online platforms to magnify the reach, but they also amplify risks of misinformation, misinterpretation, privacy breaches, algorithmic exclusion. So if we gather donors or volunteer data, we must ensure that there is secure storage, limited data sharing, and transparency about how data will be used. The principles are not always clearly communicated in typical nonprofit marketing. So, lastly, this campaign should focus on the critical reflection that recognizes responsible humanitarian communication in order to proactively address the issues of representation, consent, actuary, ac- accuracy, and includes long-term public trust. Because at all in all things that we do want the public to trust that what we say and what we present and represent is ethical and that the donations that we are receiving are going to the proper channels. So, in order to present all this and put this in place, I will be using the AI chat box, TikTok, social media, Facebook, Instagram, or any other social media platforms that are available and that will allow us access to ask for these donations and push to the finish line of achieving our goal by December 31st, by the end of the year. So, great campaigning, and thank you very much.